you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and self-storage unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning, everyone in self-storage land, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of Self-Storage Unlocked. I'm Iris Segan, the president of the Self-Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA, and I'm really excited about our panel today. We have some phenomenal ladies here from Universal Storage Group to talk about the fundamentals for success. And I want to let you know this is Ann Ballard, our hat lady, an icon in self-storage. This is her last webinar ever. So, but before we do get started and I introduce everyone, I do want to go over a couple of housekeeping items to share with you. If you have questions for our speaker today, please ask those in the chat area. We do our best to answer all the questions while we're here live. But in the event that we don't get to your question, we do keep track of them so we can get back to you via email after the webinar is over. We do ask poll questions throughout the session. Please take a quick moment to just answer the poll questions. It does help us get to know our audience better, and we appreciate your feedback. I see some of you are already in the chat area letting us know who you are and where you're from, and we appreciate that too. So in this session, we're going to talk about some key strategies for storage owners to optimize your revenue, enhance operational efficiency, retain customers, and manage costs effectively. And I'm going to just go ahead. We have a lot of content today. I'm going to go ahead and start bringing up our speakers. And we're going to start with Sarah Beth Johnson from Universal Storage Group. Hi, Sarah Beth. How are you today?
Wonderful, wonderful. Happy to be here this December day.
We're so happy to have you here. If you want to just quickly tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do at Universal Storage.
I am the VP of Sales and Development, and I have been here for about 11 years now. And I am a past board member of the Georgia Self-Storage Association. And, you know, just love everything storage. And I'm sure if you're on this webinar and you've been to any show, you have seen me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up our next guest, and that is Lou Barnhold. How are you, Lou?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Great. You want to tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do over for Universal Storage Group?
Yeah, so my name's Lou Barnholt, and I've been with Universal, I guess I'm going into my 25th year this year, and I guess I'm Sarah's work wife. I'm also VP of Sales and Development, attending the shows and speaking and doing these webinars. So thank you so much for having us, and looking forward to another great year in the self-storage industry.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up our next guest. Last but certainly not least, we have the hat lady, Ann Ballard. Hi, Ann. How are you?
Very well, Iris. How are you today?
I'm so excited to have you here. Truly an honor to have you. You were just telling us before we got started that this is your last speaking engagement with a group, and I just could not be more honored that it is with the SBOA and Self Storage Unlocked. And congratulations on your retirement. You just have, like I said, just been an icon in the industry, and we're so honored and so grateful for everything you've done for the industry.
Well, it's been my honor to serve such a wonderful industry, and it does get in your blood. You can't leave once you get in, because it's the greatest people on earth. And 34 years total in the self-storage business, and 31 years managing self-storage, and original founder of Universal Management Company, and now part owner and board member for Universal Storage Group. I'm leaving them in great hands because the two gals that you introduced prior to myself, Sarah Beth and Lou, have done a great job helping condense all the 30 years in my little gray cells into today's format for everyone. So they've packed in a lot of punches and a lot of things that can help operators have a better year next year and be more efficient. So I'm pretty excited to be with y'all and to get to help present this today.
Well, thank you so much. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Sarah Beth and Lou back. And you want me to go ahead and put your slideshow up now?
Yes, please.
All right, great. I'm going to let you take the ropes, and I will jump in occasionally when we have questions from the audience.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned, Lou and Sarah Beth really prepared all of this, but as an homage to me in my last event ever, they're going to let me do most of it and call on them as the resources to help us all. So everyone in our industry does have very similar goals. We want to be successful. We want to make money. Because if we're not profitable, we can't grow our business and we can't continue to improve our business. So every store, even the ones that just are brand new and opened, by next year, they're also going to have things that need improvement. So just keep in mind that every store should have continuous improvement projects every year. And for those projects, we need to be successful and make money. We also need to balance our profitability with excellence in our operations. Our leadership team spends a lot of time, as the ladies will tell you, talking about how to do just that. So yes, we want to be profitable, but we want our customers to have a great experience, and we want our managers to be top in the business. We've got to grow our revenue. We've got to focus on reducing expenses. Mostly that's done through technology. And we've got to grow our traffic to get more leases. So everybody needs more traffic at their sites now. We've seen it across the board. So we know that self-storage owners will appreciate their managers handling these things and leading to a more profitable facility, more money in the owner's pocket, which means more money in the manager's pocket. So Lou, let's go to the next one. All right. So to maximize profitability, revenue management for people, when we say that word, sometimes in the audience, and Lou and Sarah Beth can tell you this is true, when we say revenue management, their eyes just kind of glaze over like they have no idea what that means. But it's not just about raising rates for just customers. It's now become a more intricate and a more detailed process. It's not about raising just rates. It's an overall strategy that focuses on the effective income management to get the maximum return. So you only have a finite number of units at every property. And our job as managers is to get the highest yield out of those finite amount of units that we possibly can while keeping customers happy. So remember, street rates and existing customer rates are two different things. Concessions and discounts and evaluating the necessity of move-in specials or waiving late fees comes into revenue management. We're all at war on the web, to race to the lowest possible move-in price, but you pay for that later on. So you have to learn to balance all of that. Then tenant insurance, we call it. Some people also do tenant protection plans, but how offering insurance can generate that extra income while reducing the owner's liability. And then we're also going to talk about receivables and late fees, handling accounts receivable efficiently to avoid revenue loss, our new director of marketing and I were at one of our properties yesterday, and we found out that they had waived 68% of the late fees versus what they had collected. That number ought to be 10% or less. So don't leave money on the table being foolish. So that's the lesson there. Lou? So in rate management, we've got the standard or street rates. And to do that, you have programs that can help you do this, or you can learn to do it manually and then add the programs later, which we think enhances the manager's ability to be efficient. But when a standard rate on a unit is 90% occupancy and that type, or there's less than three or less of that type available, that standard rate needs to go up. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not also have a promo on your web to get new move-ins, but every unit has one standard rate that you then do promos off of or other things. But when that 10 by 30 size code in the climate controls is 100% occupied, you need to raise its rate. So the next one that comes available, you get a little bit higher income for because demand is so high. And on the customer rates, every 240 days, the same unchanged rent, and you raise them based on a percentage, not a dollar amount, because a percentage raise is more fair to all the customers than doing $5 or $2. You know, we see people raising rents $1 and $2. That's hardly worth the time it takes to process a rent increase. You know, so have a good program for that. Some companies raise rates very frequently, and you do, of course, have to give a 30-day notice. Some people never do it because they've forgotten how important it is to raise customer rates. So make a plan is our goal. You know, we are using 240 days. We might switch that back to 270 days, the same, which we used to do, or drop it down to 180 days. The market needs to determine how fast you handle those rate increases. And on the standard or street rate increases, we use SiteLink as our operating system right now, and they have an occupancy statistics report or a rental activity report that shows you each of those size codes so you can mark them up and see what the work is there. Or like I said, you might have an add-on program like Veritech, ProRise, or we use District Manager, which is now called Storage Income Pros, I think, to help us automate that function and do it a little bit faster. But when you see a unit size 90% or higher occupied, you got to raise the street rate. Even though your competition might be charging less than you on a given size, the market's demand for that unit at your facility is really the only thing that matters. For example, especially if you have an exclusive unit type, like a drive-up climate control. Our drive-up climate controls are hot sellers, and we don't care that other people are getting, you know, a lower price for those 10 by 30 drive-up climates because we're the only ones that have them. So if we can keep demand high for our product, it allows us the flexibility to raise rent. But if you're not out there generating higher demand, you know, you're just kind of stuck with whatever comes to you. So keep in mind, the market price leader always has the highest occupancy and the highest income per foot. So this is the rental activity report out of SiteLink, which a lot of you might be familiar with. And I have on this example gone down the center column of rented percentage and highlighted in pink all the ones that are 90% or higher occupied, and then found all the ones that have 3 or less vacant, and we're raising the rent on those. And you can see that out to the left, how much I raised each one, and then the new price just to the right of that. So after you download your slides or get your slides at home, maybe you'd want to look at this sheet full size so that you can follow it as an example of which ones might need raising. Now, if you have a lot of vacancy in a size code, those are the ones I've circled here, you leave that price alone and raise the price of the ones above and below it that are full. That's called a perceived discount. And to create a perceived discount, don't lower the price on the ones you have available. And that's typically the 10 by 10s. Everybody builds more 10 by 10s, so it's typically the 10 by 10s that you have the most vacant. And if you raise the prices on the full sizes above and below it, that makes that price look cheaper. So increase the price gap significantly between the vacant units and the next bigger size, so that it's a big jump from that 10 by 10 at, let's say $100 to the 10 by 15 that's now selling for $185. So it helps create that perceived discount. Lou, you want to go over the caption on this slide?
Yeah, so this is just showing you, and again, like Ann said, when you get the set slides downloaded, you can enlarge this and see it a little bit better. But this is just giving you an example of where and why we would create that perceived discount. So in this specific case, I'm looking for things that I have little of or the higher occupancy level. And in this, I've got a lot of 10 by 5s. I've got 7 of those. And so that specific size code is not full. So if I raise the rates on the 5 by 5s or the 5 by 10s that are around it, I'm actually creating that perceived discount on the unit type that I have in abundance without actually having to lower the price. So I might make the smaller size more expensive. And it doesn't really matter because I don't have any of those available at this moment. So me saying, hey, I can give you a 5 by 5 for $170, but these 10 by 5s are on special this month for only $115, and I haven't changed that rate at all. So it just makes the customer gives them the perception that this is a really great value and the right size for them to take. I'm kind of pushing them into
what customer wouldn't want twice the size for less money? It works.
Exactly. And as your occupancy levels change, right? So next month, it might be something completely different because in theory, I'm going to be filling up these unit types now that I have in abundance because the other units are too expensive. But maybe next month I've done my job and those units that I had in abundance are full. And maybe I raise that one up to make the one below it look. So it's
pretty easy. Once you get into it, it's pretty easy. And on the customer rate increase, I'm sorry?
It's brilliant also. I love that. Yes. Great strategy.
On the customer rate increases, we use the occupied units report because we can sort it by how many days the customer's rent has not been changed. And it leads us right to the answer instead of like you had to do in the old days or some other operating systems where you have to hunt to find how many days has it been since the rate was changed. This just makes it almost instantaneous. And you find those customers whose rent, like I said, we use 240 days, but each operator needs to decide what their trigger is going to be. But I'll tell you this, before you choose how many days the same to use, every customer, and hear me now, every customer, even the ones paying higher than today's street rate, gets some kind of increase every single year. The ones paying higher than today's street rate might get a tiny little increase, but my job as manager is to keep moving that needle forward a little bit every time. Because just leaving them alone for several years, just because their rate is higher than today's street, you're not doing yourself or them any favor. Because then 3 years from now, when you send them a giant rent increase, they're not going to be happy about it. But a little bit all along is kind of how inflation works too, is a lot more tolerable. So we find the customers whose rent's 240 days the same. We find the prepaid customers. That's a little trick that operators need to remember. Somebody who has paid us through, let's say, the end of March next year, you want to go ahead and get them processed 90 days maybe in advance. Some managers give the rent increase letter the month after they prepay, so there's no chance that it gets past us. Move-in special people that you're given an incredible web rate, for example, to move in, you can give them rent increase letters that move in. Iris, we're so glad to have you with us, and welcome to And Self Storage. We're going to try to make you the happiest storage customer in America. And you do understand, of course, that we gave you a marvelous move-in special because it's the holidays and that's what we're doing. And if you do stay with us in 4 months, then your new rate's going to be X. And here's your rent increase letter. Well, Iris thinks she's not ever going to stay here 4 months. She's going to end up staying with us 10 years probably.
Probably.
Fourth month rolls along, she's going to go, oh, that lady told me that. You're right. So she's going to be a lot less resistant to a move out from a rent increase letter if I did it at move in. And that's a trick a lot of managers miss because they have fear of pricing or something. Be very proud of your prices. I always want to say, well, there's a reason that my prices are higher than everybody else in the market. Why don't you come over here and have a cup of coffee? I'm going to show you why. Man alive, I want to get that customer into my store and show them why I'm the best and why they're going to be willing to pay a little bit more than my competition.
Can I make a quick comment, Ann, before you move on? So even better yet, instead of changing the rate to give this discount, move them in like utilizing your operational software, build in a discount plan. So that their actual lease agreement prints out at your current street rate with the discount built in, and then it doesn't even require a rent increase letter, and then you don't have to worry about it falling between the cracks. So their rate will their lease prints at full rate, and it will automatically stay there, and it's not something that gets lost in the shuffle.
That is a great suggestion, Lou, to remind them that the real rate is X, but you got XYZ, on the move in. And then for auction customers, you need your lease to say that they will go to the standard rate if they're past due for 30 days. We call it the loss of discount clause, and it's in every one of our leases. I can't say with 100% surety that every one of our managers is using it, but they don't even have to send a letter. So Lou and Sarah Beth, I'm going to leave that up to y'all to make sure that the managers are using that loss of discount clause to change those rates up. But charge for the privilege, if somebody's just driving our managers crazy, for example, they only pay the 4 times a year that their auction process, you can raise their rent. If they have a special feature or a special location, or we gave them power in that unit, you need to charge for the privilege. And pretty much have a set of rules that's across the board that way. But remember, this is the occupied units report that we work from. And in the red boxes, like this one, we were doing 270 days the same back then. So it's got everybody that needs a rent increase letter in the red box. And in the green or blue box are the ones that we already sent, and it shows what the new rate's going to be and when that day is effective. So the software does a great job of tracking who you need to work on and which ones you've already done, so that you can see those will come effective. And
make sure though that, and Lou and I see this a lot, and when we go to consulting clients, when you're changing those rates and you're doing the discounts, use the software properly. Don't go in and start changing everybody's street rates, because it messes up your software and it wreaks havoc later on.
That's a very valid point, Sarah Beth, and one we can't reiterate enough. Remember, there's a standard rate for a unit size across the board, and there's only one standard rate for that 10 by 30 climate unit. But the tenants can have an infinite number of rates. So as Sarah Beth mentioned, don't go in and change the standard rate on your customers, change the tenant rate. Because if you have a whole bunch of standard rates on your 10 by 10s, you can't manage your inventory very well. And you can hire Lou and Sarah Beth to come out and show you how to do that.
It makes a mess of your website too, and the user experience on your website is just catastrophic. So,
and a lot of people don't understand how it happened or why it happened or what's going on, and they're blaming their web company when in actuality is something that the manager did because the manager was not properly trained. So it's one of the very first things that we tackle when we're working with our customers. And
another thing, always make sure that you're pulling, if a customer has multiple units, that you're ripping that Band-Aid off. So if you're raising the rate on one unit and you know they have multiple units, go find the other ones, even though they may not necessarily be due at that moment due to your timeline. It's perceived by the tenant that you are giving them rent increases in perpetuity if they're getting a letter every other month, one month for this letter, and then 2 months, for the other unit, and a month after that for the other. They're saying, you people are crazy. You're raising my rate every month, instead of just giving them one envelope with all of the increases. And maybe you do a little bit smaller percentage if they've got those multiple units, but don't be afraid. A lot of times I'll hear managers say, oh, well, that customer pays us $1,500 a month. They've got 10 units. I can't raise them. Well, yes, you can. And you need to. Otherwise, you're possibly turning people away at your front door saying, I don't have any of those available. But you've got people in the back of the house that are occupying those units paying less than what you could have just rented it for. And it just doesn't make sense in a business sense. So
exactly. Right. So a standard rent increase letter is the sample we're showing now. And that's for customers who are, have a rent variance of 0 to 15%. And it states, some states do require verified or certified email or mail. So make sure that your current rental agreement and your rent increase process are in accordance with your state's lien law. A lot of them are outdated. We find it all across the country. Some states allow email notifications. Almost all of ours do, which makes it so easy for the manager. We just email them out. And either way, put a copy in the file, because when that customer calls in and maybe you're not on duty, somebody else is, and there's no notes in the file and there's no copy in the file of what was sent and the date it was sent, you've got no argument. So you got to document, whether your software does it for you or you put a copy in the file. You need some way to know what's going on and what was sent. Now, if they have a big rent variance, like 20% or more discount, we use the discount reduction letter. So if I've got somebody getting 50% off a $300 unit and I got a waiting list for $300 units, I'm sending them a discount reduction letter. It says, Mr. Jones, you've been getting 50% off this one, and effective February 1st, you're going to get 19% discount. So Mr. Jones knows I'm still giving him a discount, but this size is not going to be giving you a 50% discount anymore. It's a little less salt in the wound than the other way. But once letters go out, owners, we find this across the country too, owners are not training the manager how to deal with the calls and the comments that come in once those letters go out. So if you want a successful revenue management program, train your managers to put a smile on their face, be ready to answer the phone. It's your chance to work with that customer should they reach out or be upset, and discuss the situation so that you're finding the middle ground. The manager's job is to get the most revenue, but keep the customers, not make them angry. So we have a rule. It's called always check the file first. So let's say, and I love to use Bubba as the example in this one. So Bubba calls me up. I've sent him a rent increase letter, and he calls me up and goes, Ann Ballard, I've been with you for 25 years. I can't believe you sent me this rent increase letter for $50. What are you thinking? I'm just going to move out. I'm going to say, well, Bubba, we did send some rent increase letters out. Let me check your file. Secret. Customers always want to know that you're paying specific attention just to them and their history. It's just like being rewarded by Hertz and Delta and Hilton for my living with them most of the time. I get points, I get bonuses, I get upgrades, and I love that they know that about me. So, treat your customers the same way. So I look in Bubba's file and I say, Bubba, I tell you what, we must love you as our favorite customer of all time, because you have not had a rent increase letter in 5.5 years. And I've got 37 people waiting for those 3 units you've got at twice the price you're paying. So I thought and agreed that if we could just get rid of most of your discount, we're still going to give you a discount, although I don't know why, because I got people waiting to pay more. So I'm still giving you a 19% discount. How does that make you feel, Bubba? Well, then Bubba should say, well, okay. Or if he's still grumbling, then I'm going to say, well, Bubba, what do you think is fair? I'm not going to say I'm not going to do it, because I'm going to do it. but I'm going to say, what do you think is fair? And after they think about it, so if he says, well, I'll move out, I say, oh, Bubba, we're so sorry to see you go, but it's been wonderful. Thank you. I'm not afraid that I got people waiting for him to move in at a higher price. And I don't have to put up with him chewing tobacco in my office anymore. Don't be afraid. Be bold and know your market and know your property. And then say to them, the last two things I'm going to say, Lou, on that last slide is, after I ask them what they think is fair, then if that didn't work, I'm going to say, well, if I could delay your rent increase for 2 months, would that make you happy? It's called If I Could, Would You? If I could delay your rent increase, make it half that much for the next 6 months, whatever you have the authority to negotiate. If I could do whatever it is, would that make you happy? Once they agree, yeah, that'd make them happy. Great, you're on to the next one. So remember, improving the property value is the goal. Sorry, Lou, go ahead.
And maybe you're going to negotiate on a unit type that you, again, have available in abundance. But those unit types that are full, even if Bubba is a 5-star customer and he's been with you for 6 years and he pays on time, if he's paying so far below street rate and you're begging him to pay a little bit more, but it's still less than what people are willing to pay you at the front door, that might be considered a healthy vacate. So knowing the difference between a good and a bad vacate.
So don't be afraid to raise existing tenant rates. Customers are not mass moving out when they get a rent increase letter. I don't know where that rumor started, but it's not true. We monitor, of course, how many customers are moving out within 60 or 90 days. And, sometimes we've gone a little overboard and we pull back a little bit, but on a whole, they're not mass moving out. So don't be afraid to send those rent increase letters. And increasing your tenant rates that are 10% or more below current street rate really helps close the gap and increase that property value. So schedule a tenant rate increase for every eligible tenant at least once a year. Everybody gets a rent increase at least once a year, which means you've got to work the file at 300 days to give them 30 days notice and then have it become effective before the end of the year. So, a simple 7% increase, with inflation being what it is, you might do somewhere between 4 and 8%. I'm thinking at least 5% is going to be normal. And I think for 2025, we're going to see somewhere between 5 and 10% as normal. But use that percentage to raise them, not the dollar figure, because it's more fair. And then leave yourself a little negotiating room. Be prepared to strike a bargain if you have to. Like Lou said, it might be a healthy vacate, or it might be somebody you're willing to work with. So a tenant who pays you on time reliably and stays for a long time is worth more than one who's paying a higher rental rate but not on time. So somebody who is wearing you out and not paying, they might get an Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're going to be the Terminator and say goodbye and get somebody in there who will pay on time.
Oh, this is my favorite.
I love it.
Please do this one, Sarah Beth.
So I always say, so many people look and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And we're going to tell you all, there's many, many more slides that are going to give you more information about different ways that you can increase your revenue. And I always say, if you don't believe us and you're not doing the things that we're saying, please go to one of your brokers, get your facility valued right now, put these programs into place, start making that extra money, and then go back and get your facility valued again. Because if you're not going to sell merchandise because it's too much of a hassle, but you put this program in place just to try it out, and look at, with $1,600 more a month, that's $19,200 more a year. And at a 6 cap, you just added $320,000 to your, to the value of your property. Sell some merchandise, get some U-Haul, do some rent increases. Do you not want the $320,000? Because if you don't, I can find people that would love to buy your facility with how it's being run right now.
And you leaving lots of money on the table.
Yeah, lots of money on the table so that my next client can make all that money.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Thank you very much, Sarah Beth. And don't forget, there's miscellaneous unit types you have to deal with. Complementary units need rate management too. That's the charities that you give a discount to or free units to. Maybe that charity's been with you a couple of years now at totally free. maybe it's time to take them up to 25% of street rate or half of street rate. But if you're working with charities, you make sure that they're giving you something back in exchange for that free rent. Your name on the outfield, your name on the t-shirts, you're the official storage sponsor of them on their website. Just make sure you're getting something in return. And I ask owners at move-in, like an owner says, we'll give Johnny here a free unit. I'm going to say, okay, great, Mr. Owner, I'll be happy to do that for you. How long would you like Johnny to get a free unit? Because we need owners to be aware of what they're giving away. And a lot of them have unlimited giveaways over decades that nobody has ever mentioned to them. They don't even know they're doing it. So make sure you do that. And then owners units, company units, manager units, and complementary units. Anything that has stuff in it has a lease. Even if the value of the lease or income is zero, those customers that get free units still have to pay admin fees and insurance. You can't give them free insurance. It's against the law. So make sure that they're paying the insurance at least. And, even if it's zero amount, that there's a document in the file on every occupied unit. Company units, those show up at the end of the occupied units reports because they're not subject to a rent increase process. And you will see a very high days the same with those units, but don't change their rent. Company units are always kept to zero. Okay, next. Okay, Lou.
Let me just say one quick thing before we move into different types of revenue management other than the rates. Before you make sure that you are always working your street rates before you work your tenant rates, right? So you want to sit down with that occupancy statistics report or the rental activity report and go through, your occupancy levels and how many you have available and raise your asking prices first. And then you sit down and you do your tenant rate increases. It's kind of a volatile market right now, right? So people are kind of finding where they're lowering street rates. And so, it's back, if people were moving in during the COVID years, maybe they're paying these exorbitant rates that we were able to get back then, but we've had to back things down a little bit. But hopefully you're not running into the situation where the back of the house is paying more than what you're charging in the front of the house all the time. And if you are, then it probably means that you're not working your street rates effectively or as often as you should. So raising those street rates first and then looking at raising the tenant rates so that there's, you're closing that gap is just
and you're raising the street rates when that size hits 90% or there's 3 or less vacant. So it's not just like Lou said, raise your street rates. You're going out there raising all the street rates. You're raising the ones that are full. The market has spoken there. So here's another little trick, and we need to get going a little bit faster, but you can print a vacant unit report and sort it by individual standards. You can find out how long a specific unit has been vacant. And then people you're giving those cheap online specials to, move them into those long vacant units. Don't give them a premium unit for that low price. So think about the value of doing those things when you're moving the customers in and assigning them to the unit. All right. So on your management summary, Sarah Beth, you take this one.
All right. On this one, you want to make sure, like Ann was talking about the site yesterday, you want to make sure on this one, it's a great example of bad. Late fees and others here are collected are $4,437. And then you want to make sure your waived fees are less than 10%. So here they actually waived 120% of the fees and other that they collected. So not a good thing. Make sure you're keeping track of that.
And when a manager is waiving fees, it just says the manager is not confident to stick to the rules. So they need some more training. So get out there and give that manager some more training. Okay. On the management summary under delinquency, and thank you, Sarah Beth, for breaking up the management summary so they could see each section. We believe in 0, 60, 90-day money. If you're processing lien sales every month like you should, and holding an online auction every month like you should, you're going to keep your delinquents clean. And your 60, 90-day and beyond money is going to be 0. This one has one person in their 61, 90-day column, and hopefully they'll be sold this month. So don't let delinquents pile up, because they cost you money to stay for free all the time you spend tracking them, lien sale processing them, making notes, calling them. It just wears managers out. You don't need to put up with it. So process lien sale people, anybody that didn't pay last month gets processed or start the process, and you hold an auction every month. All right, next. There are 3 kinds of occupancy. I got the opportunity yesterday to explain this to somebody. There's an occupancy of units. That's what managers track. And on this sample, it's shown to be 59%. This is a lease-up property. There's also the occupancy of area or square footage. That's what owners track. And on this one, it's 67.8%. But the most important occupancy of all is the economic occupancy. And in SiteLink, it's called actual occupied unit rates percentage, or 63%. So what do these 3 occupancies tell us when we look at the picture all together? Well, it tells me they love the big units, because the area or square footage is so much bigger than the unit occupancy. And surprisingly, when the area occupancy is bigger, because we get less money per foot for a big one than for a small one, usually economic occupancy is lower or equal to unit occupancy. Not the case. Here, it's between the two. So this manager's done a good job, I would say, in their lease up by having economic occupancy be between unit and area. If you saw unit occupancy as your highest occupancy, they're gobbling up the small ones. That's probably a college town in the summer. That's the case for them. So pay attention to what your occupancy is telling you. And look here under receipts collected each month under rent. By the end of each month, your rent collected needs to equal your contract totals, which is the actual occupied unit rent. And here it's short by, I think, $1,000. I've got my screen on small, so I can't really read that number. But teach the manager by the end of the month, you need to have the total of all contracts and rent in the bank. We expect everybody to pay every month. And you can get rent in 3 ways: current rent, past due rent, and future rent or prepaid. So we don't care how you get it, manager, but you're going to get that amount of rent in every month. Okay, next. Tenant insurance. Insurance really does reduce the owner's liability and adds a wonderful income stream. So, Lou, why don't you take this?
Sure. So hopefully everybody here is offering either the tenant insurance or the customer protection programs. Because like Ann said, it is an additional revenue stream, and it just makes everybody's day a whole lot better if and when there's any kind of issue that arises within that unit for your tenants. So this is just a quick case study showing you if you've got 300 customers and you're having an 80% insurance penetration, which should be your goal, at least 80%, and your average policy is $15 a month. So that's going to give you 240 tenants paying $15 a month, which equals $3,600. But assuming that there's a 40% commission split for you, so this is where the owner is making a little bit of revenue, cash flow off of this, that comes out to $1,440. And multiply that by 12 months, it's an additional a little over $17,000 a year. So I don't know about you, but I certainly could put an additional $17,000 to good use in some way, shape, or form. So what would you do with an extra $17,000 every year if you had this protection plan?
Absolutely. And then to add to that money, Sarah Beth, why don't you talk about box sales?
So box sales, the typical box sale markup should be 55%. And it's another way to add to that bottom line. Again, that value of your facility going up, up, and up. You just have to make sure that your managers are trained in how to sell the boxes. They should be showing people how to pack the units, how to pack the boxes for maximum efficiency with their movers, or if they're doing it by themselves. And make sure you have a box buyback program. So if you don't use the box and it's in great shape, we'll buy it back. So all these little tips and tricks will help your manager sell more boxes. So again, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we track box sales as box sales per lease or per move-in. So we'd love to see $25 to $40 worth of box sales average per move-in. So don't tell the manager, I want you to sell $5,000 worth of boxes a month. Say, I want you to sell $30 worth of merchandise to every move-in, because, you know, you want an achievable, realistic sort of goal. So I guess
And
we're
locks
already
are in there too. So, you
and
know, the people
locks are in there
already need
too.
a lock. So you've already sold $15,
Absolutely.
$20 worth of merchandise.
That's right.
And
And
I think
as
it
Lou,
really helps your sales team or your management team when you remind them that you're doing a service for this customer. You're not just selling them something they don't need. They're busy, they're moving, they're not really thinking about everything that they need right now. You're just giving them a friendly reminder, and it really helps them.
Mhm.
well, and also, since we're talking about boxes, when you're on the phone with the customer, if you get some call-ins before they come to the site or haven't been to the website yet, just remind them you're a professional storage counselor. Don't pack until you come see me. I'm going to give you some tips that'll save you hours of headache and heartache and money to make this an easier move. And then when somebody walks in your showroom and says, I need to buy some boxes, never ask them, what do you need? They don't have a clue what they need. It's like asking a client that walks in that needs storage, what size do you need? You never ask a customer what size they need. They don't have a clue. So you say, well, what will you be packing? It's the magic question. They start telling you about their circumstance and what they're doing and why they're having to pack or load or whatever. Then you take them shopping. You say, well, it sounds like to me from that 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, you're probably going to need 2 bundles of medium boxes. If I keep you in mediums, you'll get more out of your storage space and more out of the truck that you're bringing them in. It's easier to move, and you're not overpacking them too heavy. You know, like don't buy large boxes, because only pillows and Tupperware go in large and extra large boxes. Otherwise, you can't move them. So give them that valuable experience that you've learned as a professional storage counselor, making it easy for them. And then Sarah Beth, take us through never let them say no.
So when they come in, again, like Ann said, don't ask if they need it. Just say, you know, what are you packing? Let me help walk you through this. Show them how to pack the boxes. Don't ask how many they need. They're not going to know how many they need. And if you also do a box buyback program, you can say, look, I believe that you are going to need this many boxes, but if you bring them back unused, I will buy them back from you. I promise you, nobody is going to drive 5 miles in Atlanta traffic to come bring back $5 worth of boxes, but you have sold the $5 worth of boxes, and maybe they can pass it on to somebody else. And again, in sales in general, and believe it or not, as a storage manager, you're in sales. That is your job. It's not just a manager of a site. You're there to sell the products and sell the things that they need. So never, ever ask yes or no questions. Always ask questions that will make them give you more information that you can then use to help them better. Next. Go ahead, Ann.
Okay, and offer them, like we said, free contactless curbside pickup for their box and supply orders. I know a manager up in Boston that, especially during COVID, she put a display in her conference room that the customers had access to that were good customers, paid up and everything, and a little form, and they could just leave her a list of what they needed, and she would have it ready out there curbside for them. And then she'd just bill it to their credit card on file. So you can provide, let's say they buy $199 or more worth of boxes. If you have a free moving truck or a U-Haul dealership, you know, you could deliver those within 10 miles free. Well, because your profit out of that's going to be 55% if you're marking up your merchandise 2.125 times like you should be. So offer bundle discounts, you know, as we talked about, in the buyback program. And those two programs help offset the fear of buyer's remorse, you know, or overspending. Because if I say, you know, just bring back the clean unused box and your receipt and I'll buy it back, then good. You know, Katie, bar the door. I'm going to fill your car up with what you need. And we also always load the boxes into the cars for the customer. I don't care if it's some big bulky guy, you know, that's part of customer service in the self-storage business. And then selling empty space. Lou, why don't you take this one?
So making sure that you're asking the right questions and you're listening to their answers, and then you're using that information to formulate your your sales pitch and to give the customer, answer their needs and be their solution. So what's the most important thing to you today, Mr. Jones? And then making recommendations based on what they're telling you. Some managers will say, gosh, I feel like I'm so nosy or I'm being pushy and I don't want to ask all of these questions. Listen, guys, folks don't go out shopping for storage just for giggles, right? They need it. It's not something fun to do. They need it. So if they're standing in your office or they're on the phone with you and they're saying, hey, how much is your 10 by 10? They need a 10 by 10. And if you're not answering their needs, somebody else is going to. So just asking the questions, it's proving that you're selling and you're not just an order taker or a price quoter. And then all of the responses that they're giving you to the questions that you're asking should help you to tailor your solution going down the line.
Yeah. A lot of times, 7 powerful words that sell is most of my customers ask me about how do I use an electronic lock or how do I get my things here or whatever. And it works because everybody wants to be part of a group. But let's jump to the next slide. This is really the heart and soul of a great presentation. We have these 5 magic questions that you should be asking on the phone. Well, it's really number 5. We only ask when we get them on the site usually. But when they call you up and say, how much is your 10 by 10? You want to know what kind of customer you have. So the first thing out of my mouth is, well, honey, thanks for calling me today, but have you ever rented storage before? Because I want to know if this is somebody who knows self-storage, familiar with the experience, or they're asking me for a 10 by 10 because the last place they called told them they need a 10 by 10. So if they say, well, no, I've never rented before, then I will say, well, tell you what, you tell me what you're going to be storing. Let's make sure a 10 by 10 is right for you. It might be more than you need. Nobody is on the customer's side, and a professional storage counselor should be on the customer's side, finding out their needs and wants, and like Lou mentioned and Sarah Beth mentioned, satisfying those with a solution that we can offer that's the perfect fit. Gone are the days when we have assistants at Macy's or any of the national department stores like we used to. Lord, they used to run fetch us another size and, do you want some coffee while you're changing clothes? Or that's gone. It's all left up to you, and you may or may not buy the right outfit. Or you might spend too much money on it, as a certain Sarah Beth I know did for a gorgeous outfit. But, you wouldn't go to the doctor and expect to have the doctor walk in the room, not ask you a single question, and give you prescriptions. What kind of quack is that? You are the doctor of self-storage. Ask the questions to get the perfect solution. So have you ever been in storage before? That takes no time at all to ask that question. If they say yes, you say, great. Did you rent with us, I hope? And if they say yes to that, great. You get the express check-in. You're right in my archives. Give me your phone number. I'll look you up that way. What customer wouldn't want to be recognized as a repeat customer and get the express check-in? Hallelujah. Make them feel good about it. And then a little bit about what they're going to be storing. Well, Mr. Jones, we saw that you were in that 10 by 30 last time, unit 486. And back then you were storing company inventory. What are you going to be storing this time? Well, I want to know what they're storing in there. Trust me, I don't want any meth labs or druggies or people living in my units or Lord knows the other 1,000 horror stories we could tell y'all all day long. But I want to make sure it's a legitimate, qualified use. And then I'm going to ask them, when did they need to get moved in? So I want to create urgency for them to see me and let me help them get this lease done and give them the other tips I'm going to give them and train them how to make this the easiest move of their life. And then I ask this question, number 4, how long do you think you're going to need it? You're not asking this question because they don't know. You're asking this question because if you need to bring a discount to the table to close the deal, you only want the discount for the limited time they thought they would need it. Then it goes to the regular price. So they think they're going to need it 2 months. And at the end of the conversation, they say, well, I can go right down the street. We'll pick on extra space today. The extra space. And rent that same unit for $20 less a month. So I'm going to say, because the person's in my showroom, I'm going to say, well, tell you what, If I could rent you that same space for those 2 months for the same price as extra space, and then if you stay with me longer, it would go back to our regular price. Would you rent with me today? And I'm telling you 100% of the time you're going to get the sale because they're in your office right then and there. Close the sale. And then while I'm showing the actual unit, you always need to show the customer the actual unit. Your lease should even say so. About how much do you think your valuables or your, I say stuff, you can call it valuable stuff, whatever you want to call it, but about how much do you think your stuff is worth? They give me a number. Oh, it's worth $10,000. Good. When I go back to the office and I'm writing up their lease, that's how much insurance they get. I don't discuss it with them. I just write it up. And it's no questions asked. I hand them a copy of the invoice. I need your credit card. And that's going to show up every month on your courtesy invoice we send you by email. So it's really easy. And the less I say about it, the better, and the more sales that I get. So these questions are important to making sure you can do the job well. Okay, Sarah Beth, talking through follow through.
Make sure you're following up on all the reservations and rentals. We actually, AJ, our CEO, had us calling and making reservations to find out which managers were taking longer than his allotted time for the callbacks. You're 100 times more likely if you call them within 30 minutes. And if you follow up within 10 more minutes, the likelihood of the customer moving in is 35%. So when you follow up, don't try to sell them. Just have a nice conversation with them. And the more you take interest in that customer and their needs, the more likely they are to trust you and want to store at your location. Next.
Bingo. And Luke, talk about closing the deal.
Well, last but not least, ask for the sale. I mean, sometimes people will go so far through their process, and at the very end, they just kind of sit there and forget to actually ask for the deal. So like Ann said, if I can do this for you, are you ready to sign your lease today? Smile, hand them the pen. Ask for the deal, and it's going to be yours. Like she said, they're standing in your office. They need what you're selling, so sell it.
And these two ladies, between Sarah Beth and Lou, they probably shop easily 1,000 properties a year in doing feasibility studies. 95% of managers out there in storage today don't ask our name, don't get a phone number to follow up with or an email address. For heaven's sakes, if your owner has developed a lead for you, either a call or a web inquiry or a walk-in or whatever, make the most of it and get their darn name and address. It's pretty important. All right. Let's move on to property maintenance and enhancing curb appeal. We are going to have to hurry through this next little bit to get y'all through all this valuable information, but keep your property in great shape. It's so important, and avoiding major maintenance issues. If I fix a small leak today, it saves thousands of dollars against the future washout of an entire wall. So think of it that way. Fix it when it's a little leak. It allows you to charge a premium rate for your product if the product is well maintained and kept looking good. And a well-maintained property attracts a higher paying tenant and reduces long-term maintenance costs. You know, you should have a schedule for air conditioner and filter changes and mowing the lawn and painting the curbs and all the things. So regularly check those door hasps and springs. Keep your gutters clear and fix any leaks ASAP. When you do your walkthrough, which you should do twice a week, spray any weeds, look for any damage or issues with fence line in buildings. Cut fences are a famous thing that criminals do. So give that fence line a tug, make sure it's still intact. Keep a small broom and dustpan with you to collect any trash and sweep out those vacant units. And keep that golf cart clean and free of trash and maintenance tools. A golf cart there's two kinds of golf carts. There's a show cart that we keep by the leasing office ready to take a customer out on tour of the property. Then there's a maintenance cart, but they are not the same thing. You know, 85 or 90% of managers are guilty of using the same thing. So they're putting their prospect in there with the brooms and the big giant nasty trash can. And I mean, it's not
butts.
Yeah, it's awful. So keep those separate. And then use an inexpensive trailer to haul for your maintenance needs. And then when it comes to
real quick, Ann, and I just want to let the audience know we are going to go over time a little bit here. But we will send everyone a recording and the slide deck in case you do have to jump off. But Ann and the team here are very gracious into going into this very in depth, and we're just going to keep going, and we'll keep everybody informed. Thank you. Go ahead.
Certainly, Iris. But expense control, monitoring, and controlling expenses is as important as increasing revenue, because that's how you make money. How do you make money? You grow revenue and you cut expenses. If you do both at the same time, wow, you're really increasing your profit margins. So marketing and advertising, we spend 2.2%, and that includes all of the things listed. Admin costs for us are 4% and include all of those things listed. So checking these things is important. Repairs and maintenance, 3.5%. Utilities, 2.8%. Taxes are shooting up by the multiples of 2 and 3 and 400 times, not percent, times. And there's not much many of us can do except have a professional argue your taxes for you. The bright spot in all this is that last year, management, which is the payrolls, payroll taxes, incentives, bonuses, workman's comp, the insurance and everything, was the lowest percentage ever tracked, 17.1% for us. So I've been tracking these things for 20-something years, and this is a chart of the last 7 or 8 years, but it shows you the dollar figure needed for each of these categories. But if you look at the next slide, you need to track both ways, the dollars per foot and the percentage of income for each expense item. Because if you only look at the dollar costs, you would think, well, these managers are costing me a fortune. I'm just going to fire them all and go remote. Well, you're wrong. We generate more income on a fully managed site than we do on a remote one. And look at what we've done to expenses as a percentage of income. As I said, management was its lowest percentage ever last year. And it's because we keep driving revenue enhancements. And you can see our expense percentage history out in the right margin. All right, let's go. Cheap tricks for income improvements and reduced operating expenses. Sarah Beth, you do this page, then we'll have Lou do the next one.
All right, we're going to go really quick. So these are ones that you can dive into more, but there's a daily price scraper that can help you out. District Manager is an excellent program if you have the correct software that it integrates with. It gives you, it takes whatever SiteLink has and puts it into graph form and makes there's hundreds and thousands of different reports that you can get. Storage Collections helps with delinquents. Constant Contact is how we keep in touch with the people that we market to and our current tenants via email. Obviously, you need some sort of software. Please do not do it on pen and paper or Excel spreadsheets. Go get a software that will help you manage your site. There are call centers if you are unable to answer all of the phone calls coming into your site, or if you want to run remotely. Our sites all have Ring doorbells, so we can see who's coming and going all the time, as well as never missing a call. So if a manager's on property, they use the Ring doorbell, it calls the cell phone, and the manager can say, I'll be right there, I'm in the back. You never want to miss anybody. Again, we all use cell phones, not landlines. The manager does not take the cell phone home. It is only used during office hours. QR codes are another inexpensive way to grab people and rentals at your door, as well as giving out information about your site. And if you have remote management, DaVinci locks are another cost-effective way to run. Next.
So Noki locks, those run about $250 a door or by bid for your remote management, or just to have a really great Class A facility. If you're doing a new build, there's something that you should think about. Software texting, there's different subscriptions out there, and that's, usually cost by bid. How-to videos and drone videos. So depending on the vendor, those are between $300 and $1,200, but it's really, really great addition for your website or for your social media platforms. Online digital ads on social media, again, that's around $50 a month. Social media in and of itself is free. Sites like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, different ones appeal to different generations. So depending on what your demographics are or the demographic that you're going after, maybe something that you want to focus on. Sparefoot. It's sometimes it's a love-hate relationship. It's sometimes a necessary evil, but you're going to pay by the rent, by the rental on that platform, and it works in some markets and not all. Go to Connect, which is a voice over internet phone system that we use. It's roughly around $30, and that answers your calls remotely. You can transfer your calls from site to site for remote management. Log Me In. Again, we use that for our remotely managed facilities so that you can log into the computer and look at the cameras and what's going on at that site from a different location. Zoom, everybody's pretty much familiar with Zoom after COVID, and it's free for sessions up to 45 minutes long. And it's a great way to keep in communication with your teams or your tenants. Bill.com is a great service that we utilize for paying all of our invoices, and that runs roughly $45 a month.
And there's pay-per-click or PPC programs, and your budget is based on how much your occupancy is and how much you need to lease. Different for a lease-up property than a stabilized property. Your website, for heaven's sake, your wife's nephew should not be doing your property website. That is out of here. You need a storage professional doing that website. It has to show photos, current prices. They have to be able to rent online. They have to be able to make payments on your website. Gone are the days when you could have what we call a Mickey Mouse website. AI Lean is an automated auction processing, and there's a bid for that. And it's the biggest legal exposure we have in the industry. So if your team is not nailing it on education and how-tos, then AI Lean might be good for you. StorePass is a digital wallet card. I believe they also now are part of the Store Suite of services. You might check with them on that. Zach would let you know. Blogs can provide helpful info, how-tos, self-service instructions, like watch this video to see how to use an electronic lock. Dropbox, of course, is cloud file storage because, as Sarah Beth has reminded us all today, we don't use paper anymore. And then tablets let us do walkthroughs, on-site visits, make it fast and easy that way. You can get a tablet for as low as $40. Online auctions, we do storageauctions.com. It gets more viewers. We get a higher recovery rate and more people looking at those things, and they teach you how to do it. Canva Pro makes designing things easy so that you can use them in your Constant Contact e-blast and other print media, and that's as little as $12.99 a month. Cameras as an IP address, because in today's world, managers need to and owners need to be able to look at the cameras on the property from any location on their phone. So those things are all very important. You can contact us for more details on any of those later if you like. But your website is really a critical tool to drive traffic. It's your first impression for most customers. Don't we all just grab our phone of knowledge, as Sarah Beth calls it, and ask it anything? Hey Siri, is there a great storage property near me?
It better say Alpha.
Oh, I turned the sound off. Sorry, but she did come back and give me one. Thanks, Siri. Bye. Now she says she doesn't understand. Thank you, Siri. But we're used to our phone kind of being our life, our link to everything. So remember that. Even when customers walk in the door, they might have already looked on your website. So you need to be asking those right questions. So your website has to be in tip-top shape to compete with the incredible number of competitors we each have. 41% of customers find storage via the internet.
For the love of all things, have accurate photos on your website. Anne makes fun of me so much because I always say it's like Tinder. What's on your website isn't necessarily what you get in person, and then it makes people very unhappy when they get there. So make sure that you have accurate photos. Make sure they're from this era. So if you've got a Class C property or, a Gen 1 property from 40 years ago, make sure you show that what it looks like today, not what it looked like 40 years ago. Make sure you can rent and reserve online. Make sure you put your best deals on the top with something like today's special that draws the people's eye there. And make sure it is mobile friendly. 70% of our portfolio rent from their phones. Again, Anne has Biggie Phone and she does everything from Biggie Phone. And make sure that your reviews are displayed. When we're on the road 90% of our lives, and I do not go eat somewhere in a new city until I have checked out their Google reviews, because I want to know I'm not going to get sick when I go visit this site. Next.
Bingo. Lou, take us through online reviews.
Yeah, so when it comes to reviews, consider these stats. I'm going to go through these quickly. So 91% of customers trust online reviews as much as the personal recommendation. 86% of consumers read reviews for local businesses. 89% of consumers read local businesses' responses to reviews. So not only are you requesting the reviews, you're monitoring those reviews and you're responding to them, guys, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. 86% of consumers would consider leaving reviews for businesses. Negative reviews can stop up to 40% of consumers wanting to use a business. However, you can't please all the people all the time. So if you get a negative review peppered in there, here and there, that's okay. And actually, it really just gives more validity to your website. I think if something is always positive and sunshiny, you might not really believe it. Just make sure that you are addressing those concerns, that you're responding to that negative review, and then you're doing something about it if it really is an issue on your end. 57% of consumers will only use a business if it has 4 or more stars.
Me.
Go ahead.
So reviews are counting towards 17% of your search related relevance, guys. And it's the one thing that is in your control. Google has this algorithm that if any of us really understood what it was to make us be the top thing that pops up when we're searched or when there's a Google search done, then we would all be famous and rich, right? But we don't know what the exact algorithm is. But 17% of that algorithm comes from your Google reviews, and that is something that is within your direct control. So they're very, very important. Make sure you're asking for them and that you're monitoring them. There's a lot of great ways to ask for reviews. You can send it in a request by email or text to your recently moved in tenants. We send a thank you email and a thank you phone call and a follow-up letter to all of our tenants. So just all of your correspondence, make sure that you're asking for those reviews. We've got managers that actually will pull up their Google review and hand the tablet to their tenant while they're doing the move-in and say, hey, I hope I'm giving you great service. Would you mind leaving me a review while I get you put into the system? And make sure you're including a link that goes straight to your review form. And you can get that direct link from your Google Business Profile Manager.
Okay, Sarah Beth.
One more quick thing. And if you have a professional website company, which you should, make sure that you're getting your analytics from them. Make sure that if you ask a question about what's happening on your website, they give you an answer and it's a timely answer. And make sure they've taught you how to use the dashboard and what all those numbers mean. And I always say you're only as good as your vendor. Your vendor is how your customers see you. So if your website stinks, they're not going to be mad at your website provider. They're going to be mad at you. If your gate stinks, they're not going to be mad at the gate person. They're going to be mad at you. So if your website people or any of your vendors are not giving you what you want, to make sure that you understand everything that they do and you can provide great service to your tenants. There are a million other people out there. Come to any one of the trade shows. You can dump that person and find another one in a heartbeat.
And on this one, to get back to don'ts in getting reviews, you cannot pay anyone for a review. Google will take you down and you will never be able to have a Google business profile again. It took us years on a certain customer. Don't ask non-customers to give you reviews. You need customers giving you a review. Don't ask for a positive review. Just say, cooling off, could you take the 30 to 40 seconds it takes to give me a review? It means the world to me, and my boss pays attention to how many reviews we get. We really appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And send them out the door. Next. And then do send out, as Lou mentioned that we're doing, e-blast or text, current and past customers asking for reviews. Ask for honest reviews, as we said. And, do respond to the things people give you. Like they give you a great review, thanks so much, and then share that on your social media. We have our Montana customer doing it, and I've seen her do 3 in the last month. And man, it looks great to see on their Facebook feed another fabulous 5-star testimonial. And then ask customers to leave a review mentioning specific services or features of your facility. If you have a drive-through facility, that's something they could talk about in a review. Okay, Lou? Next. Okay, here's the and story. Always be marketing. Your number one mission is to make sure people in your neighborhood know your brand. People don't buy storage because we put it on sale. They don't buy it just on impulse, like they might buy a new car or something. Who knows? They buy storage when they need it. And when they need it, you want to have them be familiar with your facility because of your marketing. And that way they don't even do an online search. They come to you directly. And that's the reason we love to do local marketing. The extra mile is never crowded. You have more opportunity to drive traffic to your facility than you're currently taking advantage of. Everyone is relying heavily on the internet, but there's far less competition to be noticed in grassroots and interpersonal marketing tactics. Nobody else is out there doing it. That's why we are superstars when our managers go out there and do that. Which of the REITs do that? We will never outbid the REITs online, but we can take the game to our own playing field to maximize that opportunity that they're ignoring. So take something, leave something. I went out with Kim yesterday to show her how I do grassroots marketing, and we left a little treat for everybody, and we gave out 30 goodie bags and visited 9 offices, I think it was, in less than 45 minutes, I think. And we ran into a couple of former and past customers and a lady who needed storage. So, yay, it was a worthwhile half an hour, out there. If we could do that in 45 minutes, can you imagine what you could achieve in 3 hours? I mean, it's just amazing. So don't leave them just paper goods. They go right into the trash. Always leave something 3-dimensional with each contact, not just your business card, but a goodie bag, a little piece of candy. Yesterday's had a little jingle bell on them. They were adorable. All right, next. Always be marketing. So send out a handwritten note card to each of your customers that has the logo on it with your Google review card. Start a Business of the Month program in which you highlight a local small business in your email blast. And that is a very phenomenal program and works great. Give back to your community in highly visible, positive activities like school fundraisers, clothing and food drives, toy drives. This is the season to do it. We are doing all these things at the different properties. Next. For the owners in the room, a happy manager is a productive manager. Operators who have a bonus program and benefits package will find that managers work harder because they appreciate the opportunity and they'll take mental ownership of the property. Have a budget. Make sure your managers understand the budget, set some goals. Don't just tell somebody to go out there and do good. The 4 of us shown on camera, I could say do good to the other 3, and they would interpret that in 3 different ways. So be specific. So we want to increase rents income by 10% next year. We want to increase box sales, merchandise sales by 14%. We want to increase and not waive fees next year by 17%, or whatever your number is, but specifics are what is required. You do well to listen to your managers. They're the ones dealing with the customers and part of the community representing your brand. So if they tell you, we need some promotional items so we can get out in the community and give away a few things, don't just say, oh, I don't want to spend money on that. Just say, well, I guess you want the customers out there even close to us, just going online and written from the competition then. Give a valid reason why you need those things. And then empower your managers and give them the tools that they need as if it were their own business and something that they can take pride in. Next. And for managers, be mindful you are the frontline representatives and stewards of a multi-million-dollar business. New one we just finished up in Montana, it had to cost $12 million to build it. And we've empowered those managers to know that they're responsible for that much real estate and the asset. So always act professionally and maintain the facility's dignity and brand integrity in every situation. You don't know when somebody's watching you. So if you're in your logo shirt or name tag and you're at the bank or you're at the McDonald's drive-thru or wherever you are still representing that brand. So be kind and be positive. It's much easier to sell a well-maintained, clean, nice product than one that isn't kept current or allowed to become dirty and neglected. So don't be paying for your neglect by lower rents. Following those steps help you make the most of your position while creating an opportunity for you and your owner to both earn more money. Next, we want to say we have gone 12 minutes over, but I personally want to thank Lou and Sarah Beth for the great job in putting this together for y'all today. And Iris, SBOA, we can't thank y'all enough for hosting us today. And we hope that the audience found at least 5 little tidbits they could start doing as early as tomorrow to help them make more money. So now I'll turn it over to Lou and Sarah Beth for closing comments.
Are you going to drop the mic?
Drop the mic.
Peace out. Retirement 13 days.
Oh gosh. Well, thanks everyone so much for attending and for giving us your time. For those of you that stayed after, it was a lot of information, and Iris, you're going to send these slides out to everybody that's in attendance, right?
Absolutely.
And our
Yep.
contact information is on that last slide. If you have any questions or want more information, Sarah and I are always here to help. Just don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, we don't get to retire.
Not
Thank y'all
yet,
so
anyways.
much.
Got
Thank
ways,
you so
got a
much.
ways to go. Thank you, ladies, so much. And if people only got 5 tidbits of information today, they weren't paying attention, because there was so much more than that. And we appreciate you ladies so very much. And once again, just an honor to have you here today. And we hope you truly enjoy your retirement, much deserved happiness. And I hope everybody has a great holiday. I'm going to let you ladies go now. I know you are very busy right now. I'm just going to go over a couple closing things with our audience. I'll see you later, ladies. Have a great day.
Bye.
Great holiday. Thank you
Thanks.
again. Okay, everybody, I just want to let you know real quickly, our next webinar, usually we have them every other week, but we're going to have another one next week. So in the chat, you will see the subject is managing calls with clarity, empathy, and professionalism. And you can find the, the link to Eventbrite right there in the chat. And we hope to see you next week. I'm going to go ahead and sign out today. We'll have a closing video for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. In a world where brand experience is paramount, upholding your company's standards demands unwavering consistency in every location. At the SBOA, we understand the critical role consistency plays in driving your business's success. That is why we joined forces with MSI to introduce a revolutionary internal audit program tailored to meet the specific needs of your organization. Our game-changing audit program leverages cutting-edge technology and expert insight to bring you unparalleled accuracy and reliability. We know that success in this competitive environment is paved with adherence to operational requirements, and every company has its own standards along with state and local regulations to adhere to. So we've made our internal audit system completely customizable, all in a user-friendly app. The app enables on-site agents to collect real-time data and insights from their respective locations. This feature ensures that information is up to date and allows for quick responses to any issues or challenges that could arise. Our internal audit program also has advanced photo and video reporting capabilities. These visual reporting tools allow leadership to visualize non-compliant sites and gain a comprehensive understanding of the issues, with specific examples for clear context, which enhances communication and leads to faster resolutions. And it can be done with just a few clicks and the snap of a photo or quick video. And our program provides an in-depth understanding of each store's performance and challenges. This feature allows for a comprehensive assessment of how well each location adheres to operational requirements and brand standards, helping to identify areas for improvement. Are you ready to take your self-storage business to the next level? Explore our comprehensive suite of services, including internal audit programs, mystery shopping, and unlock your full potential. Contact us today to embark on a journey of excellence and success. 248-254-9000.